In the world of motorsports, grassroots competitors are spoiled for choice in tires. There are options for every discipline, and drivers can essentially custom tune their selection based on the exact characteristics they're looking for. Yet, despite the almost overwhelming number of options and use cases, no other line commands the recognition or boasts the storied history of the Bridgestone Potenza RE-71.
The Potenza RE-71 line goes all the way back to 1984, when the RE-71 Denlock was used as original equipment for the road-going version of the legendary Porsche 959 Group B race car. That tire was followed in the 90s by the RE-710 and RE-711, and then the RE-01 and RE-01R in the early 2000s, and more recently, the Potenza RE-11 and RE-11A.
Then, in 2015, Bridgestone brought the RE-71 name back in a big way, launching the Potenza RE-71R, a tire that immediately claimed the top spot in the category, rewrote the expectations for 200 treadwear tires, and left the competition scrambling to catch up.
The Potenza RE-71R led to the current model, the Potenza RE-71RS, and with those two tires, Bridgestone established a long history of victories in both motorsports competition and Tire Rack tire tests. But even though the RS is still at the top of the category, instead of getting complacent, Bridgestone decided to apply even more pressure to the competition by introducing their next-generation product, the Potenza RE-71RZ.
The Potenza RE-71RZ utilizes a brand new high-silica compound that was designed to deliver the trifecta of performance tire design, improved traction in both dry and wet conditions, and better wear characteristics. The new compound is molded into an updated asymmetric tread pattern. The substantial outboard block and low-angle lateral voids enhance cornering traction and overall pattern stiffness, while also combating the beveling of the first intermediate rib that can occur with the current tire. The two wide straight grooves in the inboard tread zone help with water evacuation for hydroplaning resistance, and Bridgestone claims noticeable improvements in wet lap times as well as in the dry.
Of course, we've been extremely excited about the new tire from the moment we learned it was coming, and we were eager to get our hands on a set to test as soon as possible. Ultimately, we were offered a production-spec set of prototype tires, complete with smooth sidewalls and no DOT branding. At 265/35/18, they were shorter and narrower than our usual test size, and to top it off, they were used. Quite a bit used, in fact. But they were very nicely worn to about 5/32 of an inch, and the other option was to wait until the spring thaw, so we happily accepted the offer.
We weren't about to compare a set of used heat-cycle tires to something fresh off the rack, so let's be honest, I spent a day gently wearing in a set of Potenza RE-71RSs until the wear between the two was as close as possible. In the end, we ended up with two sets of used heat-cycle tires that were pretty darn close. But even so, there were too many variables present to call it a fair, objective comparison, so we'll save the hard numbers for when we have time to compare the tires new to new.
That doesn't mean we don't have anything to report, though. We spent 2 days testing the tires. In addition to our usual evaluation with Brent and myself driving, we also looked to our long roster of top-tier driving talent here at Tire Rack, and we invited Chris Trent Harvey to join in on day 2. Chris is a nationally competitive autocrosser, endurance racer, time trial competitor, and a consistent source of solid lap data, so we're happy for him to come off the bench and join us for special occasions. Fortunately, over both days and across all 3 drivers, we came up with the same results. With the 2 sets of tires we had, the Potenza RE-71RZ was faster than the current tire, no matter what metric we chose. Fast lap to fast lap, faster. Top 10 laps to top 10 laps, faster. And when we took the average of every lap we drove for each tire, the Potenza RE-71RZ was faster.
And while that's great news, we would argue that the bigger story was the way the new tire managed heat. When both tires were cool, the existing Potenza RE-71RS was arguably a bit pointier and more precise in the way it responded to steering inputs. But after one lap, it began to fall off, and by laps 3 and 4, it had lost a lot of precision and noticeable pace. The Potenza RE-71RZ, on the other hand, plateaued quickly and stayed consistent lap after lap. Its first cool lap was definitely the fastest, but from the second lap on, it didn't have much change in pace. And while it unavoidably lost a bit of its rock-solid stability in the progression from cool to race temp, it was very controllable, easily turning the small bit of movement into usable rotation, and never feeling smeary like its predecessor. To top it off, based on our purely anecdotal observations, the Potenza RE-71RZ looks like it resisted wear noticeably better as well.
So overall, our initial impressions are very positive, and we're excited to find out more. Be on the lookout for a more comprehensive preview drive in the spring, and of course our full test comparing the Potenza RE-71RZ to the best in the Extreme Performance Summer category during our 2026 test season. Until then, as always, thanks for watching.